What's up, guys? Cody here, and we're going to be talking about the 11.2 tier list for support. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with where I put different things. I don't give a shit. Because a lot of things that people think are good aren't actually that good. So, Maokai's in D tier. Yeah, he was actually never a good support, guys. Just kind of accept that fact because playing he was decent. He was better than a lot of people. I'm putting him in detail on purpose just to make a point. Um, it's not good. It really isn't. Every time that I would play against a Maokai, I would smash him. And I think every time he's been played in LCK, he's been smashed. And yeah, it's just really easy to play around. And now it's been nerfed. So yeah, it's just not a good thing. Just don't play Maokai, please. I play something that actually takes skill that can't be punished. Maybe at low elo it's great, but I don't know. It's just so easily punished in my opinion. Yeah, nothing's changed really. C tier. B tier. Blitz is not a good champion right now, unfortunately. Galio, I've moved up here. Galio's like a reactive tank. It's kind of difficult to play Galio if your team's behind, but that's kind of the story of every support. Not quite exactly. Enchanters have a lot easier time playing from behind than tanks usually do. But yeah, Galio, he's decent. The good thing about Galio is that he does have really good roam potentials with his ult, but you do lose out somewhat in laning phase. But it's not like terrible. So I put him in B tier because I think that it does require a lot of skill to use. In addition to just how much he provides in general. Nautilus just isn't that great right now. Rakan I feel like is actually extremely good. Rakan I feel like is A tier, but the numbers aren't really showing it right now, and I think it's because it's a very skill intense champion to play properly in terms of it's a lot of positioning. And you have to go in, but you're a squishy champion. So you have to really understand how you're positioning and whatnot. At the same time, some matchups he's just really bad in, mostly high range matchups. High range matchups also mean matchups where the enemy bursts and one shot your team, so heavy assassins. Just because they usually don't ever get in range of you until they want to kill you, and if they're killing you, you're dead. So there is that problem, and that is somewhat prevalent right now. But yeah, Lux is just decent. Karma and Janna kind of do the same thing. Set's here. Set's actually, I like Set a lot. His win rate doesn't reflect it, but we have a pretty strong laning phase with him. And as long as your team doesn't stumble the mid game, which generally always happens because it's solo queue, then he would work out just fine. But yeah, you can get your team ahead. You can get your ADC ahead or whoever's ganking you down in bot lane ahead pretty reliably. It's just the problem is that he's gonna fall off as the game goes on. So yeah, if your team actually doesn't know how to carry themselves with a lead that you gave them, then it's over. And that happens quite a bit in solo queue. The amount of times I've had my ADCs get 15 kills in 20 minutes and been unable to carry the game as a Kaisa is pretty upsetting and pretty often. Pantheon's in the same boat. Pantheon's almost A tier, but he has the same problems that Set does. Really reliable laning phase and whatnot, a lot of good kill pressure, but falls off pretty hard come mid game. Senna actually might be A tier, might actually be S tier. I don't really know how the changes are. I'll have to see because he's essentially an enchanter minion or an enchanter support. But slower and has more reliable poke, kind of, but you're standing still when you poke. Kind of weird. So the changes definitely help her out a lot. They give her more gold, give her more souls as well and whatnot. I don't know what a good build for her would be. The first thing I can think of off the top of my head would be um, Hero Mandate with Glacial Augment. After that, I don't really know. You could go go like Shirelia's. I don't necessarily recommend it unless you really need the move speed to like get away from people. But it would make for some interesting plays where like you're in your shroud thing and you've got everybody else with you, and then all of a sudden you Shirelia's into the enemy. That'd be kind of funny. But yeah, I'll have to see how she performs here because I would not be surprised if she was A tier. Rel, Lulu, Thresh, Seraphine. I know a lot of people think Thresh is actually like top tier S tier support right now. He's not. That's mostly just ends up being how the game is played out. Last time I did one of these videos, I said like Thresh is amazing, whatnot, and then they released the next patch, and all of a sudden people started playing completely differently. Still playing the same champions, by the way. Just the way they were positioning and the way they were playing the game was completely different. The way my ADC was positioning was poor. And as a result, he's being moved down. You just when people are playing ridiculously passive, and when your ADC is getting themselves cut out, when there's a lot of it's just really hard for you to like get a pick in the mid game as well. There's just a lot of problems that I've ran into with Thresh, and mostly they're small things, and a lot of times it's stuff that's not actually Thresh himself, and it's my teammates. But overall, I just haven't been enjoying playing Thresh, and I feel like playing Thresh is just putting me at a disadvantage, and it just feels super snowbally, and a lot of times that snowball never actually happens. So yeah, if like your jungler actually comes and ganks you, then it's fine because then you actually get to lantern it in, and then it's an easy 3v2. But for whatever reason, junglers don't know to gank. Like junglers don't know to gank when the support has flash or the support has like ult up, depending on who you are. So it's pretty frustrating. And they don't know to just like gank through lane when they have a Thresh. They don't know. They just don't know what to do, and it's pretty frustrating. So, and it's shouldn't be like I'm already trying to deal with like a bad ADC, trying to figure out what's going on the other lanes, in addition to trying to make sure I win the lane as hard as I can as Thresh. So me having to tell my jungler you should have came through lane, like when they're supposed to come through lane, is not really viable because what's going to happen is they're going to come through the river and I'm going to be like, hey, you should have came through the lane. And they're going to come through the lane when they shouldn't be coming through the lane on the next time around because they're just bad and they don't understand the state of the lane and how to play jungle and how they interact with me. So, yeah. Seraphine, I moved down to A tier for similar reasons to Thresh. Seraphine, her ult, when used well, feels like it should be used reactively. The enemies all piling in onto you, you ult to hit them and whatnot. You don't really use Seraphine ult as an engage tool, but reactive play with Seraphine ult doesn't really exist because high range teams generally and really heavy bursty teams, and once again, people playing really passive and your team playing really poorly all adds up to I don't want to play Seraphine because I'm not going to feel useful. So yeah. Similar reasons to Thresh, but in a different vein because they're not the same champion. The next tier, Nami, Alistar, Leona, Morgana, Bard. Now, some of those haven't changed. Nami, I think, is just the best enchanter in the game because she provides heals, which is more important than shields in laning phase, and for most part in general, in most fights. She provides good disengage, she provides, good chase down with her E, whatnot. The bubble is the only hard thing to actually land. But it's not like it's terribly difficult. There are certain games where I would much rather play Lulu over Nami, and those are the games where I want to like really go hard on getting my ADC, like pumping up my ADC. And they would be games where the enemy has really good dive potential, just like a lot of dashes and whatnot. So think like Hecarim, think assassins, and whatnot. And some of that is pretty common. But if there's not that stuff in there, I'd rather play Nami if I'm not really super concerned about like trying to like play for my ADC, which I generally try not to do because ADCs are pretty useless unless it's Kai'Sa, and I'm permabanning that right now because she's the only useful ADC in my opinion. Everyone else is just playing utility. But yeah, I feel like Nami's just the best one in my opinion. Alistar and Leona both provide very similar things. I will say that you do, on all your tank supports right now, you should be running Hex Flash because you need to be making as many plays as you can on the map. Because if you don't, your team will just lose while you sit there and do nothing. So, and it's going to be why Bard is up here as well. But yeah, you got to make sure you're making plays around the map and that you're roaming and you're making plays down in bot lane and everywhere that you can. Because if you don't, your team will lose for you. So, Morgana, really great. She denies the engage right now that you see from champions. And she provides really, really good poke and laning phase. The one problem is that she can't roam, reliably at least. Yeah. There's like 2 builds I've been going with her. Moonstone Renewer, I think it's just insane on her just because her W will just continuously proc it. Which is really useful, and you end up providing the CC for your team while also being an enchanter, which is kind of cool. So that's pretty useful for any like team fights that are going to be at least somewhat elongated. In addition to that, Moonstone Renewer gives ability haste, which I think is more useful than ability power for someone like Morgana. You'd rather have like your Q up more. You'd rather have your E up more. Your W and alt don't really matter as much as Morgana. And in fact, going Moonstone Renewer generally means that I'm not buying Zhonya's. In fact, I generally almost never buy Zhonya's unless the enemy just is super dive heavy. Even then, I a lot of times don't. But yeah, pretty happy with Morgana right now. And then there's Bard. Bard has been in this limbo state forever where I'm like, he's good, but he's like, you need to be good at Bard and whatnot. And I finally decided, yeah, he's S tier. Yeah. Right now, I've been saying this a lot. Right now, you need to be playing a support that can roam realistically. You can play an enchanter and whatnot, but when the enemy support's going around the map and constantly affecting other lanes, you're gonna feel pretty upset when those other lanes win and start to snowball the game. And it's like, well, we stopped the ADC, the ADC was down, 30 CS and we got first turret. Yeah, but that doesn't matter because the ADC is not what's going to win you the game unless it's a Kai'Sa. I'm banning Kai'Sa. Just ADCs in the game right now are just pretty bad. So because of that, roaming supports are just better. And Bard has good lane pressure. Bard it just feels so good. Just be able to quickly go to a different lane because I'm one of the fastest supports in the game. Gank there and run back. It feels so good to have a long range stun essentially that the opponents are either going to flash or I'm going to position it so that they have to walk towards us to avoid it. And at that point, they're dead no matter what. Or although if I'm close enough, there's nothing they could do but flash, depending upon the range at which I'm casting it. Um, the ult is just amazing. Team fights, the amount of times that you save people with it is insane. The amount of times that you kill somebody with it, though, when you're first in a learn bard, is pretty high, though. So this is a champion that does require you to actually know how to play him. But once you get the idea of it down, and as long as you understand when and how you're supposed to roam, he's just so good. He really is just one of the best champions right now. And the win rates reflect it. The stats reflect it. So yeah, if you can play Bard, play him. You know how to roam, play Bard. Because oh my god, it is so easy. Because once again, your ADC is pretty useless in the game. Your ADC is just pretty useless. So having the ability to just go somewhere else with ease, just amazing. So that's gonna wrap it up. Like I said, I know a lot of these things people aren't gonna agree with me on, but I don't care. Yeah, these are my opinions. Shin actually needs to be moved down. Shin actually needs to be moved down to D. Now that I think about it, but everyone else is fine where they are, in my opinion. These are my opinions. These are essentially how I feel about different champions from me playing them, or from what I've seen from other people and whatnot. It's somewhat influenced by stats, but not really. Thanks, guys, for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, remember to like and subscribe. I got other videos on the channel. And catch me streaming on Twitch. Most of my content is going to be on Twitch. That's where you're going to see me play live. If you want to see me play Bard, if you want to learn how to play Bard, come over there and watch me. Ask me questions and whatnot. I will gladly answer them. Please come over. I stream irregularly. Just give me a follow and check in during the evenings to see if I'm playing. That's generally the best way to see, because my schedule is kind of up in the air. It oftentimes has to deal with whether or not I'm coaching or not on that night. Which currently I'm not coaching at all right now. I don't have a team right now either. So yeah, for the most part, I'll be streaming most nights as of right now. So come on over and catch me out at twitch.tv/cw5136.